Our company is called Inside Robotics, and our slogan is saving the world bit by bit, grid by grid. So bit by bit means using computers. 1 0 is a bit, and grid by grid is something like geographical information system or sort of like that, using maps or sort of like that. So we are a local startup. We started 5 years ago, and we have 75 full-time staff now. And we started with a very small office located in Mongkok with 3 people working inside another business office. So originally, it's a ticketing company which sells concert tickets for Insight. So we work inside the office of some entrepreneurs' office, and then we do private development, secret development inside one of the rooms, which is a storeroom actually. So after that, we talked with the entrepreneur saying that actually we think that we have some idea that can save the world, that can solve a global issue. And then, yeah, well, the entrepreneur sold his business and then invest in our company. So now we are in Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Beijing, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, and Minneapolis. And we solved one simple problem at that moment: wildfire. So every time we see fires in the news, it's always big. So this is Canada, and yeah, well, you see all those problems. The problem of in Alberta, Fort McMurray, it caused a $9 billion loss. And this is a picture that you may feel amazed. So all these red dots on the map means that there is a fire that is larger than 900 meters square happening on the Earth. And the accumulative this is an accumulated graph of 1 week's wildfires that is happening all over the world. So every year, 100 million hectares of forest and greenland are being burnt. And the most serious problem is that 92% of those fires are started by humans, and only 8% of those fires are started by the nature. So around 20 to 30% of our carbon emission is actually coming from wildfires. And adding up all the vehicles in the world, it just contributes 17%. So why do we need to change our fuel of the cars? Where, yeah, if we change it to battery powered, where do we get our power? We still get our power from a coal-fired power plant, right? Do we solve the problem of carbon emissions? No. But the reason why we picked wildfire to solve this problem is because if we find out the earliest stage of the fire, we can put it out with a fire extinguisher or even with your hands. So it will not become a disaster. So the problem of being big in disasters is always because of late. So why is it late? So traditionally, oh sorry, I forgot to translate the mountain. There's a Chinese character there, which is called mountain. So when we have 2 watchtowers watching for smoke coming from the wildfire, there may be some confusion between the towers themselves when they try to do the triangulation or stuff like that, because there's occlusion. They cannot know whether the smoke is the same smoke or not. When they try to triangulate, you get 2 missed fires and 1 false positive. And for a average standard of finding the source of the fire, it takes around 6 hours for the watchman to locate the fire since the moment that they see the smoke. So it's always late. So people will say, oh, when there's smoke, there must be fire, right? But it's that simple. Our world is like this, right? China, Beijing, yeah, it's not only happening in China. The haze conditions, Malaysia, Vietnam, Canada, you see, that's Canada again. Yeah, so it always happens. When we have wildfire, we always have air pollution at the same time because it's always in winter. and the pollutants coming from the wildfire, it always pollutes the world, the visibility. And the problem is that the God waited for 5 years and there's no fire. So it's a very, very boring job. And for satellites, actually 50% of the time we got clouds. You see this picture, the whole South Korea is being covered by clouds. I just randomly picked one picture from one of our satellites for monitoring forest fires. So all the problems, all the solutions seems not working perfectly. And we need to rely on a lot of different technologies to find out the source of the wildfire. So we spent 4 years of scientific research and experiments with the Chinese forestry to try to find out a way to detect the first single tree that is on fire so that we can put it out. Because for lake detection, it's it's not very useful because when you reach there, you can't really fight the fire. You can just take trenches to let all the things burn inside, and then it's a very passive way. So let's see one of the video, what we have done with the Chinese forestry. Yeah, this one. 5 years ago, we've done an experiment. Because at that time, we do not know what is wildfire. So when we talk with them, they say that, let's make one. So we have 600 firemen in Guangdong province playing with us, coming from 23 cities. This is the solar panels because we have no power on the mountain. And at that time, I'm still soldering and changing the code because it does not work. Yeah, we found a bug on top of a mountain, and then we solved the bug's problem right there. So we put in sensors inside the forest to collect the temperature change, humidity change when there is a fire. So we can't wait because we need to wait for 5 years until a fire may happen right there. So they set a fire inside the forest randomly without telling us. And then actually we have a robot that is located 3 kilometers away, and we scan the whole fire scene for the location of the fire. So all the fires are being spotted automatically by our prototype robot, and then all the firemen just watch the electronic map that we send to them in real time onto their cell phone, onto the cars, or on the fire engine, and then they fight the fire with different teams. So the fire commander can say, okay, fire 1, Shenzhen team, go to fight it. Fire 2, Guangzhou team, go to fight it. So we innovated the way of how maps are being used and distributed in the real fire situation. So this trial is actually being broadcasted on the TV for 4 hours because the fire is so big that the Chinese government don't want people to panic. So after 4 years of experiment, we developed a robot that can pinpoint the location of a fire that is 2 meters square within 5 kilometer radius. And now we can detect fires at 8 kilometer radius with the size of just this one table. So this is some kind of innovation that has been done by a 100% Hong Kong team and the Chinese government all together. And you can see from the picture itself, actually the white dot right there is the fire. And on the picture on the right-hand side, you can't see any smoke. So we solved the problem of locating the smoke because we don't find the smoke. We find the fire before the smoke comes out. So this is something that we have made after 4 years of development and near bankruptcy of our company. This is the FD1. So FD1 is being deployed in command centers like this. Originally, it is a paper wall and a whiteboard locating the location of the fires. And Jinan City is our first client. We installed 8 robots for monitoring. And then no fires grow beyond 20 meters square in 2014. And whereas the last year in 2013, they got like 20 hectares of land being burned. So In the user interface, you can see that, okay, we detected a fire around 5 kilometers away in Mexico. So this is a trial done with the Mexican forestry. And because we want more forestry departments to test with us on small fire tests, because no one believes that there is a certificate that comes from China. Yeah, well, that's the case. So after we developed the product, we got copycats, right? So, so it's a very norm in China. So we organized competitions with the forestry department, saying that, okay, you set a fire 5 kilometers away, and we invite all the vendors to come here to see who can find the fire. And finally, only our company can find the fire. So we got 10 competitors in China, and then, yeah, well, they came and they all lose. So within 2 years, we deployed the system in 41 cities and 17 provinces in China. Now, Indonesian government just purchased the robots from us for monitoring wildfire. They want to reduce the carbon emissions, and these are the command centers that we built. So this is, Canada again. So, well, this fire is 13 kilometers away that we detected in a heavy haze condition, where you can't even see there is a mountain right there. We use thermal technology that can see through the haze and pinpoint the location of the fire. So this is the start of the fire. It burns bigger and bigger and then burn the whole mountain behind the scene. And this is the only records the Canadian government got on any fires when the fire just started. So let's skip something. Let's see our drone. So after we try to detect forest fire, we also want to detect pests and disease, because the same client asked us for this. Can you help us to detect pests and disease and illegal logging? So that's why we developed a drone. So this drone can fly for 2.5 hours over an area of 3,000 hectares. It can take 2,000 pictures, high-resolution images, to analyze what is happening inside the plantations and forests. It takes off above a mini car, and then it flies automatically for 2.5 hours, so the operator can go for lunch, play games, and then it will automatically land after it finishes its job. So the landing method we learned from the Japanese in the Second World War. So, well, head-down approach, yeah. So the reason why we do this is because the most expensive part of the drone is actually the camera, and the camera is at the belly. If we use belly landing, there's a chance that there is a rock or something on the ground that will break the camera. So that's why we pick to land head-down. And it can control a very precise landing location. So what we do for the plantation companies is that we try to find out insect invasion and sick trees. So in this picture, you can see each of the leaves of the oil palm in Malaysia is having problem. It's been whitening and yellowing or sort of like that. But there are millions of pictures coming from our drones every month. So how can we analyze it? We use computers to write software algorithms to analyze the healthiness of the trees. So in this picture, you can see the photosynthesis activities of the plants. So the rows do not have photosynthesis, so they are red. So in the middle, you can see there are some plants that are having health issues, and we highlight it on the map so that the plantation companies can solve the problem by spraying insecticides or sort of like that. So the last picture is that we help them to find illegal logging. Illegal logging is a very serious issue in Malaysia and Indonesia. And then we can find one single tree that is missing by doing a 3D analysis on all the pictures. So these are very new applications to a very old industry, which is a forestry, which is a 700 years old industry, which has so few innovations in the previous years. So yeah, we try to do more, trying to save our resources, trying to save the world, reduce our air pollution issues or sort of like that. And we hope every company here can join. Thanks.